This video is sponsored by Focal. Your photography business should succeed because you are a great photographer and not because you're an expert in marketing, SEO, web conversion, and all of the other non-photography things. Check out the link in the description below to find out how Focal can help your specific business.
So I found this lens at a thrift shop for $5. Has this red mark all the way around it, which is why I think it was so inexpensive. I tried to get it off with my finger, but I think I'm just gonna have to gaff tape it instead. Good as new.
Wow, and now I'm at a desk. A lot of photographers like myself on the internet here claim that you can photograph an entire wedding day on a 50mm lens, yet none of us have ever done it. Is it because we're lying cowards and as soon as somebody comes with a check, we're all switching systems? Maybe, but today, we're really gonna do it. The lens we're going to use is the Canon 50mm f1.2L. You don't need a lens like this to do the photos you're gonna see in the video today. You basically just buy this lens to look cool and more successful to other photographers on the internet. Your couples, they don't really give a shit. Your couples just wanna look nice in their wedding photos and they wanna have memories that they can look back on for the rest of their lifetime. This $199 Canon lens will actually get, it's on sale, $179. That's 11 bloomin' onions or 179 Arby's curly fries. Which would you rather have? Please vote right now. The lens, 11 bloomin' onions, or 179 curly fries. I'm kidding, this video doesn't sense inputs. You probably just pause the video. Vote now if you touched the screen and you fell for that joke.
Thank you for choosing Arby's. Please place your order when you're ready.
Hey, could I do a medium curly fry? And that's everything.
Also, this test isn't specific to just Canon only. This is for any 50mm lens, or if you are somebody that's shooting an APS-C body, say you're on the Fuji system, it is the equivalent of kind of a 33mm lens or maybe a 35. We're kind of talking about the 50mm normal field of view. So whether you are a Canon or Nikon or Pentax or Olympus or Minolta or Konica or Mamiya or maybe even a Sony shooter, hopefully this video will be helpful for you. And if you don't find it helpful, please go complain directly to Jared Polin. Here's how it's going to work. We're going to score the 50mm lens like it is in the Olympics. Each segment of the day will be given a usefulness score between 1 and 5. 1 being maybe the worst lens you could have picked for that segment of the day, 5 being the most ideal lens. If any segment of the day ends up below 3, so if it gets a 2 or a 1, that means that this challenge has failed and the 50 will not get you through an entire day. I can tell you right now that I am the most nervous about doing macro shots that I don't know. The close focusing distance of 50s isn't as close as a 35, so that could be one potential failure point. With the old 50s, you could actually, if you're still on a digital SLR and you have a 50 with an aperture ring, you can actually do a pretty cool thing where this is real, this isn't a joke, where you flip your 50, you open the aperture up and you manually focus, and it becomes a macro shooting it backwards. I think it's called like flip the 50 or something. But unfortunately, this new mirrorless glass does not allow for the David Blaine style magic. First up, guys getting ready. Guys getting ready typically consists of candids, a few single post photos, a few group photos, and sometimes some details. But let's face it, guys choose photos on their own is weirder than the 2002 film Crossroads by Britney Spears. I should also mention that I'm second shooting this wedding with my wife Lindsay, who is a huge Crossroads fan. Even though she's the main shooter, I hope you can rely on my experience of doing 1,000 plus weddings to, I guess, to give you the verdict. I don't know, what are we doing? So I don't want to experiment on somebody's real wedding day. That seems kind of crazy. So far this lens is working very nicely. For getting ready photos, I would say a 50 is kind of the perfect lens. I used to rely a lot on my 85 here, but sometimes 85 is just a little bit too long for a small hotel room. Or if you find yourself in a space that you need to do a group photo of maybe 5 or 6 people and you just can't get far enough away to get them all in the frame, you now can do that with a 50. So a few profile photos for Lindsay and a few of this guy, and we're off. For guys prep, I'm giving this lens a 5 out of 5. This was the most ideal lens that I could have had in that exact moment. So far, scoring a perfect 100%. All judges, all countries. Actually, it's just me. But it was the correct lens for this section of the day. Next up, girls prep. I'm over here getting warmed up, photographing this pizza box in a window. I think the 50 is the right tool for this. Longtime viewers are going to expect me to drop the pizza song right now. Hey yo, I really like pizza. But not today. We have a 50mm lens to talk about. Here it is, the moment that I feared more than watching Britney Spears' film Crossroads for the first time, macro ring photography. It's only 1 or 2 photos in a wedding day, but they are super important. On the 20 whatever megapixels the Canon R3 is, it actually does work, I think. On a 50 megapixel camera like a Canon R5 or a Sony A7 R4, it will likely be completely fine. This is an image that definitely goes in wedding albums and maybe does get printed, but it's never printed as a 60 by 90 inch print on their wall. I don't know who prints that large from their wedding day, but I definitely don't see ring photos ever being printed in large formats. So if you don't have all the megapixels, maybe it's a 12, 14 megapixel file to get the crop that you want, I think that's fine. You can also go into crop within your camera. Most camera systems will allow you to do this now, where you can go into APS-C mode. If you have a full frame camera, it will obviously give you less resolution, but it will get you a closer to final image in camera, so you don't have to spend your time in Lightroom making the crops. For the macro subsection of the day, I'm giving this a 3 out of 5, maybe like a 3.5 out of 5. Pizza photography, 4 out of 5. Close focusing distance on this lens, as I mentioned, is not as good as most 35mm lenses, but what I can say is it is kind of incredible that this Canon 50 nails the focus at 1.2 and at the minimum focus distance. I guess this shouldn't surprise me because this thing's worth 200 bloomin' onions. The math, I feel like, is almost accurate. A few more photos and we are off. Overall, for this section of the day, I'm giving the 50 a 4 out of 5 with the negative point only for the macro section of the day. I'm also giving Britney Spears' Crossroads a 2 out of 5. Next up, the ceremony. Longtime pizza fans and viewers of the channel know that this is where I go to my 70 to 200 f2.8 pretty much every time. So can a 50 also be a correct tool? There are a lot of variables with ceremonies, including how many, how large they are, and not all of them look the same. Some are in bigger churches and some you need a longer lens for sure. Some are smaller ceremonies with very few guests, and some are in very tight spaces or you have a lot of people around and you have to go really wide. Today though, I would consider this to be a medium-sized room, similar to the size of the first karaoke bar that they go to in Britney Spears' Crossroads. With the 50, I like that I am getting more environment than I usually would. That can also play negatively against you if there are distracting backgrounds, but today it worked out well with decent lighting. The 50 will get the wide shots that I need from the back. One thing that is lacking are the close-ups during the ceremony, maybe during vows or another emotional moment. Are these an absolute requirement for a wedding day? I don't think so, and typically ceremonies are not in ideal light, and when not in ideal light, I tend to go wider, so maybe this works out well overall. With a 50, you have to be okay with getting a little bit closer. But overall, oh, I'm in a different spot here. It's a plant in the frame. Overall, I'm gonna give this a 4.5 for the ceremony. That yes, I could use a 70-200, but I could also be pretty happy with a 50 at most ceremonies. And I'll be honest, like Crossroads with Britney Spears, it actually kind of worked a little bit better than I anticipated. Next up, family photos. Did you know that Britney Spears' younger sister, Jamie Lynn Spears, played younger Britney in the film Crossroads? Now you know. As I mentioned earlier, Lindsay is the main shooter today, and she's shooting a 35mm f1.8 for this part of the day. Would a 50mm lens work as well? No problem, as long as you got some space. Also, I blurred this one out because there are kids in the shot, but very easily we fit 12 people into the photo indoors. Usually we're outside and we have a lot more space to work with. If we were inside and we also had to do a photograph of the entire ensemble of the Disney musical, The Lion King, and there's 150 people in a space like this, yes, you're gonna need something else. Is that a thing that I run into at a lot of wedding days? Not really, but I have one time. So always keep a wider lens in your bag as a backup just in case. 16 Canon is really nice. For family photos, 50mm lens gets a full 5 out of 5. It will really help you make beautiful family images. You can shallow depth field, you can make backgrounds disappear and make things look a little bit more professional, maybe in spaces that have distracting backgrounds. And yeah, 5 out of 5. Next up, room shots, 360 no scope headshots, and details. My usual go-to lens for room shots and details is a 35. How will the 50 compare? I feel like the 50 forces me to simplify my composition, put less in the frame. What it's missing is a room shot that is the entire wide room shot. I think that it is important for couples. It's also important for marketing, for blog posts, for the venue, for magazines, but is a 50 wide enough? I guess that is for you to decide. When it comes to the details though, the 50 is George Clooney. We even made a brunch greeting card. See you Sunday, Carol. This section of the day gets a 4 out of 5 only because it's missing that one single wider establishing shot. If you don't feel that you need that in every, you probably should get that shot, but 50 can get you pretty close. For bridal party photos, I am giving the 50 a 5 out of 5. It is a very correct tool for that part of the day. Couples portraits, also 5 out of 5. While it is nice to have other lenses to get some variation, my key frames could all be done with this lens and this lens alone, no problem. Especially when working with compressed timelines, this lens allows you to just get a lot done in a very easy and effective way. You're not struggling with gear, you're not setting up different shots for a wide, a medium, you're just working within the bounds of a 50mm frame. Now, moving into the reception, or as we say here in Canada, the reception. The f1.2 or 1.4, 1.8 or f2 aperture of your lens will really help out here, especially if you're on an older camera body where high ISO performance isn't incredible. Entrances, I'm giving this lens a 5 out of 5. First dance, 4 out of 5, only because I feel like I have to be a little bit too physically close to the couple in order to get the frames that I need. I would like to be maybe on an 85 or maybe a 105 or maybe even a 135 for this section of the day. What it does unlock is that you're able to get a lot more environment in those frames as well. So as somebody that usually photographs with an 85, moving to a 50, I feel like I'm getting more of the day in the frame. And you feel like you're maybe a little bit more part of the day as well. For speeches and candids, I'm giving this the lowest score of the day, but not as low as Britney Spears' Crossroads scored on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5, only because a 50, you have to be too much in the scene, I feel. For speeches, it's easier to be on an 85 or 105 or 135 or 70-200 even, and to be in the back of the room and get those shots. Can you do it with a 50? Yes, absolutely. Should you? I guess it's up to you. If you want to get nice and close and that's what you want, awesome. I find that at this point of the day, I kind of would rather be in the back and just kind of be the fly on the wall for the rest of the evening. So I'm going to say you can use it, but maybe it's not the ideal tool and I would recommend something else. On that high point, those are the scores. Can you get through an entire wedding day with a 50mm lens? Absolutely. Should you? I would probably say it's easy enough to bring a 35 and maybe something a little bit longer with you for the 35 is for ring shots, and the longer lens, maybe not something as long as the Drive and Britney Spears' Crossroads, but a longer lens, something even like an 85, will help you just stay out of the way of everybody. And if you can stay out of the way of the guests and you're not placing yourself in between the family and the person at the podium, I feel like it is a better overall situation for you as a wedding photographer. That is all for the video. Let me know in the comments below if you've ever used a 50 for an entire wedding day, because I bet somebody has. And if you're interested in learning more, I have so much content up on the members website. Members website has all of my presets that you have instant access to, as well as a lot of courses. And I would say start with Book More Weddings 2022. It is the course that is going to help you specifically book more weddings in the year of 2022. And even if you're watching this in 2023, 2024, 2028, whenever this video stops being organically shown to people, the lessons taught within Book More Weddings 2022, they're evergreen, so they will be still working years and years from now. I also remake the course every single year and I make it different, so it's not going to be the same course. So I have many years of Book More Weddings up on the website right now, and they are all very different from one another. That is all. Don't forget to subscribe, and that's my story for today. Go watch Britney Spears' Crossroads, I guess. Maybe the takeaway from today. See you next time.